Gradually, days are counting, and of course, today makes it the 6th day in the month of July in the year 2023. And of course, if you're conversant with IKD 106.1 FM every Thursday, you would agree with me that we always have healthy conversations here in the studio on your favorite radio program called The Issues, where we talk about matters that concerns our health as individuals. Of course, you would agree with me, of course, that health, they say, is wealth. That is why we have this in line with General Hospital Ikorodu to always give you healthy tips on how you can stay healthy as a human. Of course, I have my guest already with me in the studio. She happens to be a doctor all the way from General Hospital Ikorodu. She also is the consultant and head pediatrist department, I think. Yes, and of course, she's no other than Dr. Folashade Iwedemi. She will do justice to the conversation today, talk about diarrhea disease in children. Yes, diarrhea disease in children is very, very important for us to talk about this today. But my name remains the same, Opayami Adebambo, and together we would have this conversation. Diarrhea is the second leading cause of death on young children, and this has been said to be very, very deadly and dangerous within the age of 1 to 5. All of these and more we will talk about today on The Issues. After this very short breather suffices, we would return with this conversation, diarrhea disease in children. Good morning, Nigeria. Oh yes, you're welcome back to The Issues on IKD 106.1 FM. Do not, of course, forget that you can listen to us from anywhere all over the world via our website, which is www.ikd1061fm.ng. You can also be part of this conversation by calling in whenever you have any questions whatsoever to ask in line with the question. And of course, our focus for today, which is diarrhea, which is a disease in children. The studio lines are 0904-081-1061 or 0904-082-1061. I say good morning to you, Dr. Folashade.
Yeah, good morning.
It's good to have you in the studio.
Thank you very much.
I thank you for joining us today as we talk about diarrhea disease in children. Yeah. So today we're talking about diarrhea disease in children. It is something that is very broad, and of course I know 1 hour is not enough to talk about diarrhea, which is a very deadly disease amongst children. But for the betterment of those out there listening to you at this time, I would like for you to tell us what diarrhea is itself as a disease.
Right, thank you very much. Diarrhea can be, you can explain, or define diarrhea as the occurrence of two or three or more, watery or loose stool in a child. So it's diarrhea in children we're talking about. So
yes,
the occurrence of 2 or more watery stool. Sometimes it's watery like water, and at times, yes, it's not like water, but then it's not formed. It's loose in a child.
That is the simplest way at which one can put it.
Yeah, that's diarrhea.
All right, you just heard the voice of our very own Dr. Folashade, consultant and head pediatrist department, Ikorodu General Hospital. Now, talking about diarrhea and the way you have defined and explained it, I want to believe that there are symptoms that causes diarrhea. There are some symptoms that you will see when you talk about diarrhea that will make you just know that, oh, okay, this is diarrhea knocking at the door. Can you tell us some of those symptoms when we talk about diarrhea?
All right, so when you say diarrhea, that's exactly what I have said before.
Yes.
It simply means the stool this child is passing is like water.
Okay.
And that's not the usual way. Or it's not formed. When it's like water, it takes the shape of the container that the child is using.
Okay.
Because when it's, what's it called, a diaper too, it floods over the diaper, and that's not
uncontrolled.
Sometimes even flows out of the diaper. Essentially, that's diarrhea. So even a layman can say that the child has diarrhea. You don't have to be a medical person
to know.
That's simply diarrhea. Now, with the presence of diarrhea now, you now have other brothers and sisters joining it, which includes maybe the child may have high temperature.
Okay. Yes, those are the symptoms I actually want us to talk about.
Exactly, that joins together. Sometimes children have diarrhea without high temperature.
Wow.
It's possible. But sometimes also this diarrhea can occur with high temperature, with vomiting too. The child is irritable, just crying excessively. He's not accepting feeds. All those things are also symptoms. Not used to eat 5 times in a day, now it's just once. And even the ones the child is reluctant to take it. Child is excessively crying, probably even looking weak. The child is crying. You're not seeing tears coming out in a child that has been having diarrhea. It's also not good. The tongue or mouth looks dry.
Okay.
Child is running temperature. child is, like I said, vomiting. The child is becoming weak. These are the other things that can join together with diarrhea.
But most of the times, all of these symptoms are not evidently seen. Sometimes it's not as if these are the things you will definitely see.
No.
Sometimes it might come that way, and it will not come sometimes.
If you say diarrhea simply means there's watery stool. Stool is now like water, or the stool does not have a shape anymore. It's just coming out like
it's just uncontrolled,
coming out like it's not formed. When something is formed, you can tell the shape.
Yes.
But this time around, yes, it's not like water, but then the stool is not formed.
Okay, so I want you to tell us, having said some of the symptoms and giving us a definition to diarrhea, it's a deadly disease amongst children, yes, but there is a cause to diarrhea. There is something causing diarrhea. Definitely, it's not normal when we talk about the health. So what are the causes to diarrhea?
All right, so essentially, diarrhea is usually infectious. That means it's usually an infection. So now these infections are caused by germs.
Okay.
Now these germs, there are 1,000,001 type. There's virus. Viruses are even the most common anyway, causes of diarrhea. These are germs, you can't see them with your eyes.
Yes.
So either viruses, either bacteria, sometimes parasites. And then sometimes maybe the child is on a drug for some other thing, and part of the side effect, that drug is diarrhea. But then at that time you will know that, or maybe where they told the mother to give the child the drug, they said one of the side effects you will see with this drug is diarrhea. So sometimes diarrhea is caused from using some type of drugs. But more commonly, or most commonly, diarrhea is from germs a lot of times. But the germs may now be viruses, maybe bacteria, maybe protozoa, maybe parasites. I don't think we need those names. We just need to know.
I also don't want to get lost. Exactly. I don't want to get lost.
So diarrhea is essentially most times caused by germs. All these things that we can't see with our eyes.
We'll get to that point where we talk about the germs. If you're just joining us today on the issues, we're talking about this deadly disease amongst children called diarrhea, and of course the best ways at which we could tackle this and of course treat them. That is why we have our guest in the studio to do justice to the conversation. You can also be part of this conversation by calling in or listening to us from anywhere all over the world via our website www.ikd1061fm.ng. Now, Dr. Folashade, I want us to talk about the types of diarrhea. If I am not mistaken, I want to believe that a lot of the diseases that we know that are caused by germs, are caused by all of these viruses and all, they are always in their types. They are always in their forms, and I believe diarrhea is also in that category too as well. So tell us some of the types of diarrhea that children actually faces.
So essentially broadly classified into 3 types.
Okay.
There's the acute watery diarrhea. That's the most common of the 3. The acute watery diarrhea, like the name says, acute is not hasn't been happening for long. At least it's less than 2 weeks. So 1 day, 2 day, 3 day diarrhea. Classify them into acute watery diarrhea. That's one. Then secondly, we can have the acute bloody diarrhea. From the names are very simple. From the name, there's blood inside this watery stool, or in this stool that is not so well formed. There's blood.
I know that happens with adults. Is that also very possible with children too?
Extremely possible.
Wow.
Sometimes you even see stool with blood, and then yes, it's diarrhea, but the diarrhea is on another level, in the sense that you're not just going to give drugs and all that. You probably even do surgery. That's operation.
Wow.
It can be that
for
bad.
Diarrhea.
Yes. The one that has blood. So there's acute watery diarrhea, there's acute bloody diarrhea. That's the one that has blood. And then thirdly, there's persistent diarrhea. Persistent means that the watery stool, or this stool that is not so well formed at all, has occurred for 2 weeks and above, 14 days and above.
So we have the acute diarrhea, the acute
watery diarrhea,
then the acute bloody diarrhea, and
that's also called dysentery. You probably know that word.
Dysentery, yes. So okay, wow, this is serious. I'm learning, and I believe that those listening as well are also learning. So when we talk about these types of diarrhea, the first, the second, and the third, are there age categories to it? Are there age brackets to it? Because diarrhea naturally is within that 1 to 5, around that. Is these 3 forms of diarrhea types? Any one of them,
irrespective of the age.
Age.
Generally can appear anytime, as in any age.
Wow. So is there any time a child actually can escape diarrhea and then you just feel like this child is grown already, there is nothing like diarrhea anymore. I should not be scared of diarrhea for this child.
No, children have diarrhea.
Yes.
Sorry, adults have diarrhea.
Adults have diarrhea.
So why would you not say children will escape diarrhea?
I know, because naturally we know that diarrhea stays up to like 5 years of age. You know, according to according to what we heard, that that diarrhea stays from like 1 to 5. So if you do up until 5, then you're good to go. There is nothing of such.
No, the statements. Maybe what you heard would most likely be that it's more common in children 5 years and under fives. We call them under fives.
Under fives.
It's more common in that age group. It does not mean that after 5 years you've
overcome it.
While you know that you have not escaped it even after 5 years, because adults also have diarrhea. So how would you now say a child has passed 5 years, he has escaped diarrhea? No. It's more common in children under the age of 5 years, or you say 5 and below. Now it's less, as a child grows older. That's why the frequency is not as high in adults compared to children. So it's most common or more common in children compared with adults. So no one has escaped it.
No one has escaped it.
It's just the frequency that reduces as you grow older. In fact, even of course a 2-year-old, probably would also have more tendencies of having more frequent diarrhea than a 5-year-old. We expect, all things being equal, that a 5-year-old, your immunity as a 5-year-old is definitely better than a 1-year-old. You understand? A 5-year-old can also have diarrhea. 1-year-old can also have diarrhea, but we believe generally that a 1-year-old has more chance, of having diarrhea more frequently than a 5-year-old, because we expect that your immunity is higher. It was better as a 5-year-old than a 1-year-old.
So where is that point that diarrhea becomes deadly, and it becomes this deadly disease that everyone is scared of? Because if, according to you as a doctor with your wealth of experience, if you say that people would hardly overcome, or people would hardly not have diarrhea, then everybody, in a way or the other, I don't know if I did, I don't know, but so where does it become deadly if it is something that happens to everybody?
All right.
Why do we call it a deadly disease?
Well, it's a deadly disease because for children, a lot of their body constituents and all that has a lot of water. So with diarrhea, we are saying that your stool that is supposed to be well formed is becoming like water, and the child is probably not even now feeding well at the time the child is losing this water. And then, of course, now when you have diarrhea and you have blood inside it, it may be a serious matter. That's one. Those are the points where, because truly diarrhea can actually be treated at home to some extent. Yes, it can. So when something can be treated at home, of course, it means that's not bad.
Okay.
So truly there are features of when this diarrhea, if care is not taken, this may become deadly. And that is one. If that is passing this watery stool so much, in fact, the parents cannot even count the number of times that this watery stool is coming. So you may be tending into serious problem. Or the child is passing this watery stool and nothing is going inside. As in, you're giving, the child is vomiting. You're giving food, the child is vomiting. Because of course, the fact that the child is passing watery stool, as in having diarrhea, does not mean you shouldn't feed. In fact, at some times you should feed more than the child takes. So the child is passing this watery stool, having this diarrhea, and yet vomiting. In fact, the urine, the child is making urine, used to make urine normally before, and then if it's a child that is using diaper, that day you have not even changed one diaper. You understand? So diaper is almost dry. Maybe landing into serious problem.
Wow.
Or also the child is crying seriously, tears are not coming out, the mouth is dry, the child is now weak. He's not collecting food. He's not collecting drinks. Those are danger signs. Or there is blood in that stool. Maybe it wasn't bloody before. Now you start seeing blood. That's a danger sign. The child is weak. He's not accepting anything from you. It's so irritable, crying anyhow. Those are actually danger signs.
I would like to talk about the fact that some believe that diarrhea is a kind of disease that it comes by itself and it would of course live by itself. Some people will just tell you, Yorubas will say, with time it will just it will vanish off and it will go. How true is that? Is that safe to? Is that safe to?
No. I thought you won't ask that question. That question is very important too, because you will see a lot of children rushed into the emergency room and they will tell you, when they rush someone, it means something has happened. whether maybe at this time child started convulsing, or they see that the child is so weak and almost gone, and they rush into the man. Yeah, you ask them, what's the problem? Child has been passing what used to low, and we thought, the usual thing now. What do they say? Do you know? It's teeth now. That's the usual.
That's the general belief.
Now they say it's teething. They thought it was teething, so they're giving teething powder, teething this. So yeah, slightly, yes, it may be true. You know that sometimes children will have diarrhea. In fact, a lot of children will have diarrhea and they won't even get to the hospital. And even without doing anything, maybe the mother just keeps feeding as usual, breastfeeding as usual, and then the thing disappears by itself. Yes, it's possible. Why? Because the most common cause of diarrhea in children are viruses. And for viruses, there are no specific drug against viruses that will stop diarrhea. Now, generally, when viruses cause infection,
yes,
it is expected that it's your immunity that will clear the infection. There are really no drugs against viruses generally, that will clear the infection. It's your immunity that should clear. And like I said, viruses are the most common cause of diarrhea. So for a good number of children, truly they will have diarrhea. That's watery stool now. And then maybe has it once in a day, the stool is watery. The second day has it like 2 times, the stool is watery. And then because the child is still playing around and all that, not running temperature, the parents continue to feed. And before they say Jack Robinson, well, diarrhea disappears.
It's gone.
So it's gone. Most likely that was a diarrhea caused by a virus.
Okay.
That's why it disappears by itself. But you see, when other germs cause diarrhea, or when you see diarrhea with blood inside, those ones are not likely to go by themselves. They would likely need medical intervention before those can be sorted.
So categorically you're saying that it's not safe to just believe that, wait for this thing to go by itself. Some naturally have that belief that if diarrhea comes, it will go. But health wise, you're saying it is best for them to just seek medical attention.
First of all, maybe do some things. One of the things to do is ORS. That salt, they used to publicize this salt sugar solution.
Yes.
Which is now put inside a sachet. ORS sachet. So, okay, this is the first day this thing started. You haven't sorted, you didn't seek for medical intervention yet. It started on a Monday. And that Monday, I will advise at least as long as the child is not vomiting. The only thing you're still saying is this watery stool. Get zinc. That one, you don't need medical prescription. Even abroad, you won't need medical prescription to get ORS or zinc. Because they have less cases of diarrhea than us. Now, you get ORS, or those that can make it at home, but I think it's just easier to get the ORS sachet. It used to be 50 naira, it's now 100 naira. Mix this ORS sachet and give zinc. Zinc is just 1 tablet in a day. And every time the child passes that watery stool, give the ORS. Let the child drink it as much as child. If the child is taking the ORS well from you, it's not likely that child will get dehydrated. And so, so you actually may do some home remedies, no doubt. At the beginning. Now, day 1, the stooling was once. Day 2, it became 3 times. I don't think you should wait. I don't think so. I think at that point you should seek a medical intervention.
From the beginning of this conversation, you talked about germs, viruses, which happens to be the major cause of diarrhea. I would ask first, can we now say that maybe the community, the environment, the homes matters more? Is that to say that if germs are the reasons, viruses are the reasons, that means maybe some set of people, some set of children will not even have that disease called diarrhea? Maybe those children staying on the island, are they safe from diarrhea? Because if it is about germs and viruses, some people will tell you, I have a very clean home, my environment is very clean and okay. So does the environment matter too sometimes?
It matters a lot too. Seriously. But maybe it will reduce the frequency to the barest minimum for those that live in very clean environments and all that. Like by island, yes, island, and of course some parts of mainland now.
Oh yes, some parts of mainland.
No doubt, with the environment, with where the child lives, with the house where the child lives, of course, it will determine the frequency of diarrhea. No doubt. So yes, the high class and all that will probably have more incidences of chest infections, AC everywhere, things like that. So yes, diarrhea is likely to be more common in the low income areas, low socioeconomic regions than the high class. Yes, the home matters.
I would want to talk about germs. Now let's come down to germs. But before then, okay, maybe I should still save that. There is this particular question. But let's now talk about germs now. How then is it best for us to tackle germs, because this is the genesis, the root of the evil called diarrhea. How is it best? How best can we prevent these germs, viruses, and we can't even see them? That is what makes it worse.
Exactly.
So how best can we treat ourselves from
these germs?
Yes.
All right. So the environment, like I said, environment as per where you live, the home, is extremely important. Keep clean, proper disposal, especially of feces and then other wastes that we generate from the house. Proper disposal, they are far away from you. You know, for some that keep dirt in the kitchen, every day get them disposed. Ensure children don't go near where you put your refuse before you dispose to the outer. And then, of course, keep your house clean. You know. What else? Then maybe proper. Okay, I talked about proper hygiene. Keep your area clean. Proper disposal of sewage. You know, especially like I said, the high income, the low income. The high income are likely to have normal WC and all that.
Yes.
You know, while the low income, and they will have good supply of water. Flush every time, like 50 times a day you are flushing. Unlike the other parts where it's likely to be pits, you know, more than one family would use it. You know, in fact, water is a serious problem.
So they will have to wait for areas, several people to use before we manage the one bucket.
You understand? And then, you know, where that's if they regularly have water like that, they go fetch water across the road. So you can know they will be managing water a lot. Because one other thing that is extremely important is hand washing. You want to change diaper, you hand wash. You finish changing diaper, you hand wash. Imagine where they have issues with water supply. They pay for every water they fetch. So you can imagine they will be micing the thing seriously. To wash your plates, you know, minimize water to wash plates and all that. So hygiene is extremely, in fact, it's the bedrock of preventing diarrhea. Hygiene.
Hygiene.
Yes, it's the bedrock. You know, aside hygiene, you now talk about, okay, you as an individual. We're talking about children now. So breastfeeding the children, you know, the need for exclusive breastfeeding can never be overemphasized. It can't be. If you want to be doing formula for whatever reason, you know, having to get cup or you're using feeding bottle, those are portals of germs. No matter how you think you are sterilizing the bottle, they are corner inside the bottle that your sterilizing thing will not get into. So bottle fed children will have more tendencies of having diarrhea than children who are exclusively breastfed. We talked about breastfeeding. Yes, immunization too. You know, there's this vitamin A that children are supposed to be taking every 6 months up until the age of 5 years. That's immunization. Then other immunizations generally that children go for, those are part of the things that gets them hammered, gets them, you know, prepared. So that even if at any time, number one, all these things will. So a child's also feeding well, feeding appropriate for age. We are talking about breastfeeding when you want to wean the child to other food. You're washing your hand before you make their food and all that. All those will build the child's immunity. So one, it will reduce the rate of the child ever having diarrhea. If the child will ever have diarrhea at all, it won't likely be severe. If at all, it won't be severe. It will probably be the type that will start in a few days, it disappears by itself. Without any intervention. If the child is well armored, feeding well, you know, his weight is normal for his age. His height is normal for his age. You understand? We're not talking about horrible. We're not saying the child should be fat. As long as the child's weight is normal for that child's weight, you're not comparing the child with another child. As long as the child falls within normal weight for the child's age, the height is normal for the child's age, you're taking immunization. So if at all diarrhea will ever come, it's not likely to be the severe one. If it will ever come, that's if it comes.
So have there been any cases at all where we have a child who did not even have this disease until adulthood? Has there been cases like that? Or it could be said to be very rare?
Don't use very.
Okay.
Maybe I would say it's possible. It's actually possible, because at least I know of a colleague who in fact, she used to do exclusive breastfeeding. She used to do it 2 years. You know, all through the period up until the last we spoke. Most times what her children have, a cough and catarrh, you know, they hardly, you know, by the time those children start, they are now 7-year-old, 8-year-old, they go some places literally by themselves. You can start touching this one, hand goes to the mouth. Touch this one, hand goes to the mouth. You know, they may now start having some small diarrhea, but yes, it's a possibility.
It's possible.
It's possible.
It's possible.
Yes.
So aside the fact that you said we should ensure we keep our environment clean, eat good food and all. What are the best preventive measures to preventing this deadly disease called diarrhea amongst children? As parents out there listening, what are the best ways for them to prevent diarrhea? Because the reason I asked the question earlier, that do we have cases of children who have actually escaped having this disease? Parents now naturally believe that since I have a child, my child would have diarrhea, my child must have diarrhea. In fact, it's now looking like a normal thing. So are there preventive measures to diarrhea?
Oh yes, we are saying that it's most likely a number of children will have diarrhea, because one, we said it's common, especially the viruses one, the ones caused by viruses. But it's possible you reduce it, like I said, to the barest minimum. You understand? It's possible. So for people who have the mentality that whether I like it or not, my child must have diarrhea, they may be shooting themselves in the foot too, because that's one. If you believe that way and you are living that way, that one episode, that if it is going to be that one episode that your child now wants to have, what if it turns very serious and the child does not survive it? So it's important not to have that kind of mindset. Believe that some people don't have it. Why must your own child have it? Yeah, so do the things you're supposed to do. You understand? So that if ever the child will have it, let it be mild. There's mild, there's moderate, there's severe. Why must your child enter the severe level where everybody is? In fact, when they have that, they are passing waters through so much, they are vomiting, they rush into the hospital, they become so dehydrated and the child is dry. And then to get the veins, it's war. We cannot, because everything has collapsed. So even if the child must have diarrhea, we don't pray for it, yes, but even if the child must have, let it be mild, so that the life goes on. You can before you become an adult, you must pass through childhood.
Oh yes, definitely.
Yes, though you don't want to die during childhood, how will you get to adulthood? You understand? So that's why it's important to tackle a lot of things from childhood, because you need to survive childhood to enter adulthood.
Okay, it is still the issue 0904081161 or 0904082161 is the studio line to call in and ask questions from my guest, a doctor from General Hospital Ikorodu, in person of Dr. Fola Shade. And today we talk about this deadly disease amongst children, diarrhea, this deadly disease amongst children. Now, I want us to talk about the fact that a lot of people also believe that the traditional way is the best approach to curing this disease called diarrhea. For you, how best is that? How fair is that? Because some will tell you that it is a minute thing. How will I now start rushing my child to the hospital to take care of my child when I can just easily use all of these leaves and herbs and all of that? What do you have to say, or what do you have to tell parents that has this kind of mentality?
Well, some of them, maybe the reason why some people will believe that is because somebody is telling them that I have tried it before and it worked.
And it worked.
Don't know, but of course, medically, we're not going to support. A lot of these herbs that they use is not particularly they have done some, call it research or whatever. It's not as if they've done some little research, however, to show that this thing, what it does is that it will cure diarrhea once we use it. Now, there's a tendency for those things to be infected themselves, and then you jam everything together. One thing with herbs is that I do not think they know proportions. How would they know proportions? This is the proportion of this we are supposed to put. In fact, this is the proportion of this particular chemical that is in this leaf that I must add to this other leaf and combine
to
it
give
together,
me the exact
to give me, exact thing that will work. That's why many children rushed into the emergency room, the General Hospital Ikorodu. They have tried many things. There's some people who say gripe water and what other things, many things, Imodium. They have a lot of over-the-counter things that people buy that they have actually started using. When it now appears that, this thing is getting so complicated, they now rush into the hospital, and then unfortunately the child dies in the hospital, and it looks as if the child died in the hospital. Nobody knows the interventions they have tried to do. So no, we would not support. There are very easy things that you can, if you want to feel that you are treating your child by yourself, you don't want to come to the hospital for whatever reason, the stress of this place, the money you have to pay, whatever. We have said zinc.
Yes.
It's cheap, very cheap. I don't think it's more than 100 naira.
We will still even get to the best ways to treat, the medications in treating diarrhea. Now, you talked about when people talk about the hospital, that will bring me to the question I've saved up until this time. When we talk about Ikorodu General Hospital, diarrhea is a deadly disease and it's very common in our community here in Ikorodu. So, how well as Ikorodu General Hospital, where you are, how well have you been able to tackle this disease? Are there any forms of awareness to the people? Have there been cases where you have to treat children with diarrhea, and how has it been so far? I want us to talk about our community here, Ikorodu, and this disease, diarrhea. How has it been, and what are the measures put in place by your hospital in curing and treating this disease called diarrhea?
Well, I would say that one of the things we have done as General Hospital Ikorodu is this program that is happening. Okay. Sensitizing the public. Educating the public has to be ongoing. It's not a one-time and one-off thing. We continue to do this enlightening the public. These are the things to do. These are the things not to do. And then we also do the same at our immunization facility right in GH Ikorodu. Okay. So when parents, second thing is that of course we give children immunization at the GH hospital. We also have during the immunization, before they start administering the immunization, there's health talk. These same things I am saying now about hygiene and all that. The need for routine immunization, hygiene, keeping of their homes and all, hand washing every time. That hand washing thing can never be overemphasized. The need for exclusive breastfeeding. We also do some health talk. The nurses also do some health talk, when they bring their children for immunization before administering the vaccines. In fact, during the antenatal clinic also, when pregnant women come to the hospital, the ANC nurses also, educate them. When this baby is born, these are the things to do. You don't give a newborn this, you don't give a... So, health talk, in fact, that's the major thing. Educating the public every time you see them gather together, whether as mothers who bring their children, whether as pregnant women who bring their who come with pregnancy for antenatal care. Educating the public from time to time, every time you meet them, is the key. That's the truth, because all these diarrhea thing happens usually at home before they come to the hospital. So the home front is extremely important.
Okay, IKD 106.1 FM is the radio station. Today we talk about diarrhea disease in children. With me in the studio is Dr. Fola Shadi, who is doing justice to the conversation. Yes, you can be part of the conversation as well, to ask questions whatsoever, to clear your doubts, if at all you have any, in line with our focus today, diarrhea as a deadly disease amongst our children. Now, you talked about pregnancy, which will bring me to my next question. When we say pregnancy, are there cases, could there be diarrhea in the case of a pregnant woman when the child is still even in the belly? Or when we talk about diarrhea amongst children, it is only for a child that has been given birth to? Do we have pregnant women also experience what we call diarrhea with their children, unborn children?
Oh yes, the woman is still pregnant.
Yes,
the baby is in the womb.
Yes,
the woman is not the baby.
Okay,
it's the woman.
Okay,
the woman will have diarrhea, and of course it's a, I don't want to say risk factor. Now, when a pregnant woman has diarrhea, it may be a serious thing too, because it can cause premature contraction. And she will give birth to a baby before 9 months. And you know what that means. Give birth to a baby before 9 months, it means the baby may live or may not live. If the baby is going to survive, it may take a lot of money to keep the baby to survive. So you really don't want a pregnant woman to have diarrhea, because she can expel the baby before time if she has diarrhea.
So it's okay. Wow. So a woman having diarrhea could actually even allow a child become a premature child, not getting to the age. That's serious. Okay, so let's talk about the medical approach to curing or treating diarrhea amongst children. What is the best way to treat diarrhea, especially in the cases of, okay, let me start with my home care first, before I even come to the hospital. As a medical doctor, what would your advice be to parents out there, especially mothers, when they see that their child has the symptoms that you have mentioned earlier, that this is diarrhea? What should they do at that time?
All right. Essentially, ORS, oral rehydration salt. That's the thing they sell in sachet. It used to be 50 naira, but I'm sure it's probably up to 100 naira now. One. Okay, it happened so late at night, and you cannot get to it pharmacy to get that. You can do the SSS, that's the salt sugar solution. You know, get 1 level spoon of salt, salt, 5 cubes of sugar. 5 cubes of sugar, 1 level of salt, and add that to 600 mils. 600 mils is like 1 pure water.
Oh, okay.
That's 500.
Okay.
Plus a little.
Plus a little.
Maybe. Well, that she won't have that at home. So 500 mils of. Or if they have some containers that have marks, that have numbers that they can use to get a 600.
Even like feeding bottles too. Some of these feeding bottles have marks.
Those marks. Yes. So use that. You're not using the. We don't advocate that mothers use feeding bottles.
Okay.
They shouldn't use it to feed the babies. You know, because that's covering. When you're covering the feeding bottle, it has a lot of rounds and rounds. Yes. Those are the corners where germs can hide. So if in case you have a feeding bottle at home, just as a measuring tool, so in the case of diarrhea, you're getting like about 600 mils of water with 5 cubes of sugar, 1 level spoon of salt. That makes your salt sugar solution, and keep giving the child every time the child passes what to as many times as the child is accepting it from you. You keep giving the child, maybe with cup, or is in the morning, is in the day. You get to a pharmacy and get the sachet of oral rehydration salt. And then of course this one, I would say the way you use it, but then on the body of the sachet, how to make it, how to produce it is there. 1 liter of water to the whole sachet. You know, sometimes people used to say, since the bottle of water I want to use is the small, I will use half of that powder. And I used to tell them, there's no way, the powder is in the sachet, there's no way you can get the half of it. Do you understand? There's no way how to measure the half. So 1 sachet of ORS salt, you use it with 1 liter of water. 1 liter of water is 2 sachets of pure water. 2 sachets of pure water is 1 liter. Plus, if you get the big ever bottle, you know, there's a label on it. So that's 1.5 liters actually. So you take out small out of the water. And let the water in the bottle be just up to the level of that label. There's a paper on the bottle. So just pour away some out of the water. Make sure the water remaining in the bottle is just up to the top of that paper. That's about 1 liter. And pour the whole powder inside it. If you made that solution 10 a.m. this morning, and the child has not finished it by 10 a.m. the following day, it's expired. You produce another one, and the child can finish. Even if the child finishes it in 3 hours, you make another one. You know, so, and it's for every time the child passes what is to you give as much as the child wants to drink. That's one. That's ORS. The SSS, and then zinc tablets. Zinc. Also very cheap. In fact, sometimes they sell the ORS sachet with zinc tablet. You go to pharmacy, say you want to buy ORS. It's packed together. So that you're going to buy ORS, but they are selling ORS with zinc for you.
With zinc,
So just give 1 tab in a day. The sachet contains 10 tablets. The child will take everything. That's 10 days. Day 1, day 2, day 3, like that. So those are initial remedies. If it's a child that is breastfeeding, continue breastfeeding. In fact, if it is possible, breastfeed the child probably even more frequently than.
So breastfeeding helps too.
It does help, yes.
Wow.
And then the regular food the child is eating, continue. There's something like these are the things not to eat. Maybe sugary things.
I was going to ask that, are there foods that they need to stop taking when they get to that point of?
I think particularly sugary things.
You
know, those ones can worsen diarrhea and all that. So maybe sugary things, but the regular diet, child can continue feeding on regular diet. Continue your breastfeeding for probably even more frequently than you used to do. Those are the initial things you can do at home while still watching the child. Now you want to be giving ORS and the child is just not taking it from you. Meanwhile, this watches tool is just persisting. If it's going to be getting worse, the child that was feeding seriously, you know, even while the diarrhea was going on, is now rejecting it's not collecting even breast milk. Those are danger signs. It's beyond you now. You go to a health facility.
I was going to say, when do we get to now come to the general hospital or a health facility to say, please, I need attention? That is when it has gotten to that stage of
not collecting it from you again. Or together with diarrhea, the child is now vomiting. The one you are even trying to, the child is passing out something. You now want to replace it by giving something in the mouth, it's not taking it from you. Of
So
course,
it
the danger
has gotten worse.
Come to General Hospital Road.
Okay. I like the way you talked about they should come to General Hospital Ikorodu, and of course I believe that they will be well attended to.
Yes, they will.
Okay, so let's talk about the mothers now. Mothers that are pregnant and they have diarrhea, just like you talked about the other time. Now you've given us solutions to how they can attend to a child that has diarrhea, but what about the case of a mother? How does she? Would she also have those symptoms of vomiting, feeling tired and all of that when she has diarrhea? Because some mothers might not just know, they might just feel it's the stress of pregnancy or the tiredness of pregnancy, and come on, there's a risk for the child. So how about mothers? What do they do at that time? And how best can they know that this is diarrhea?
Okay, I don't deal with pregnant women.
Oh, yes.
I deal with children.
Yes.
Then I would say that even adults, they can also take this salt sugar solution, oral rehydration salt, and zinc. They should also take it. In fact, for adults, they should. For children, sometimes you used to measure, this volume of ORS, this volume. But for adults, taking the ORS extremely liberally.
Okay.
Finish a whole bottle of Eva in 1 hour.
There's no case of overdose, no overdose.
It's oral now.
Okay.
When you talk about overdose now, too much fluid,
yes.
When you set a line, we're giving drip. But if it is oral, you pass it out as urine. So just take as much as. And then, of course, for pregnant women, like I said earlier, because of the risk of causing preterm contraction, and if the preterm contraction starts, they just may not be able to stop it. So I think for pregnant women, it's better to come to the hospital and see their doctors. I think it's better.
Okay.
Put them on bed rest. Continue the ORS, continue the zinc. If the pregnant woman needs drip, they will give. And probably if preterm contraction, for example, has started, give something to stop the contraction.
Okay, so let's talk about the government now, which will be our last question on the issues today. Before I would allow you go, actually, because I know you have a lot to do. Of course, has there been any support by the government in order to at least curb this disease, the spread of this disease? Because if there are medications, if there are awareness and all of that from the government, I think to some extent it would reduce a little bit. So you being one of the doctors with General Hospital Ikorodu, has there been any support from the government? Has there been moves by the government in order to bring about a low number of the spread of diarrhea?
Oh yes, of course. I talked about immunization. It's not produced by General Hospital Ikorodu. Immunizations are government-driven policies and all that. So immunization top on the list. I think there used to be a time, I don't know whether it's happening now, that ORS and zinc used to be free. That's how much the government is trying to do to curb these things. In fact, when if it's not free, I know it started with 50 naira, very cheap.
As low as 50 naira.
Exactly, as low as 50 naira. So, and then Loma, helping us with waste disposal and all that.
Yes.
I think essentially, and of course, from time to time also, there are programs educating parents, government driven now.
Okay.
Programs educating parents on how to prevent diarrhea, training and retraining of even health workers on us also. Bringing up our knowledge to the public, as in giving up our awareness programs to the public, fueled by governments, as in this government that is sending us out, to educate the public on prevention and treatments of diarrhea.
Okay, so I want to say thank you so very much. But what would your advice be to parents out there, especially mothers? Because in cases like this, it is always the mother. Usually the mother, rather. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe if there's been any time you've witnessed a man bring a child to your house, I should ask you that. Has there been? Oh, really?
Of course.
The father comes with the baby.
Oh, yes.
But it's not
as common as, of course. You have fathers coming with their children. Yes,
I would have doubted, actually.
No, it's not that bad. But then it's not as common as the mothers being the ones bringing the children. Of course.
Then I give kudos to those men. I give kudos to those fathers. I would not be surprised if you said none, because I feel like, okay, yes, man.
That's what you expected.
Yes. It is diarrhea this time around. If it's a different case if it is some other kind of sicknesses, but diarrhea when the child is just stooling and the mindset of he will still stool again, or she will steal now when I'm carrying. No. Okay. Okay, so what would your advice be to parents then, especially mothers, mothers out there listening to you at this time, and of course, the best way for them to handle their children. Talk about this deadly disease called diarrhea.
Yeah, all right, thank you very much. I think I would say that as soon as a child is born, the first thing we say is breastfeed your children. Do not think you cannot because somebody said at 2 months, man, I just started formula as if it's something to be proud of. So believe that you can breastfeed this child, and you can do that exclusively for 6 months. Exclusive means without water. So you used to say, I am a matter, as in child's chest can be paining the child. So but there's nothing like that. Believe before you even give birth to this child that you can and you will do exclusive breastfeeding for this child.
6 months.
So 6 months without any other thing. Drugs are not parts. Drugs, child can take drugs without issues.
Okay.
But then as per food, feeding, breast milk or nothing without water for this thing. That's the first mindset you should have. And then the first thing we also, apart from feeding, the first things we introduce to children when they are born is immunization.
Immunization.
To protect this child from all these bad germs roaming about. So believe that for this child I want to give birth to, I must breastfeed exclusively for 6 months without water. I'm going to do all the immunizations I am supposed to give this child, and keep my surroundings clean. Well, they will change diapers a lot.
Oh, definitely. Yes.
Wash hand before diaper, wash hand before, after changing diaper. After touching anything that belongs to the child, you're washing your hands. Proper sewage disposal. Your room is kept clean. The clothes are kept clean. Hygiene, sanitation cannot be overemphasized. With this, at least you will take diarrhea away from that child if you want to have somebody to look after you when you are old.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Folashade. When you talked about immunization, I wanted to ask that, are there a particular number or stages to immunization that parents can prepare their minds towards, like, okay, my child will need to take 2. I know I used to hear take 1 at a particular age, another one. Are there particular numbers, maybe 3, 4 times, and the child is good? Or immunization, how is it done? What's the process like?
All right, so there are ones they take at birth, not too long after birth, within the first 7 days of birth.
Okay.
After then 6 weeks of age.
6 weeks of age. Okay.
Or 6 weeks after you took the initial sets.
Okay.
It's always a range anyway.
Okay.
If you can get it done at 6 weeks, good. 6 to 7 weeks. So starts when the child is born. At 6 weeks of age. At 10 weeks of age.
Can we just try to take one call before you leave? Hello? Yes. Hello? Hello, good morning. I need you to reduce the volume of your radio, sir. Thank you. Okay, all right, okay. Please, let's go ahead with the immunization.
When the child is born at the age of 6 weeks, 10 weeks of age, 14 weeks of age.
6 weeks, 10 weeks.
14 weeks of age.
14 weeks.
Yes, and then 6 months.
6 months.
And then 9 months.
9 months.
Yeah, so after then, of course, they will be telling them when next to come. And now, the ones you get after then are actually like boosters.
Okay.
Top up of the types you have gotten before.
Before.
You've gotten all that before. You have been getting boosters. Booster shots. Better give the child more.
So what happens to those parents that they just take the one for 6 weeks, 12, 14 weeks, and then they just feel like there are no implications to that?
Oh yes, there are implications to it. And so the germs, that, or the infections that those immunizations are supposed to protect the child from, they won't be protected. You understand? So for you to have to be taking the immunizations from time to time, it means the protection is not complete.
Yes.
So the implication
and you have to keep staying protected.
Exactly, you have to keep staying protected. So the implication is that what we're trying to prevent, the child is exposed to what we're trying to prevent. If you don't complete what you're supposed to complete.
Dr. Folashade Iwedemi, I want to say thank you so very much for being a part of the program today. Thank you for the enlightenment, and of course we want to say thank you for always doing your job well there at Ikorodu General Hospital. This is how far we can have it today on the issues. My warm regards to the entire staff and management of Ikorodu General Hospital, and of course we still expect our cake from the from the 2 birthday men. They are no longer birthday boys. That's actually very amazing. We wish them a happy birthday from our studio, and we are still wishing them a happy birthday. So please send our warm regards to them. This is IKD 106.1 FM. The issues continues tomorrow. Stay tuned with Victor Archibong. My own name is Okpayemi Adebambo, urging you to stay safe, stay healthy. It is important because health, they say, is wealth. God bless you.